Back for a review of the new 2016 film Shin Godzilla, or Godzilla Resurgence. This had a limited theatrical release, I think through the October 11th through the 18th. So I was able to catch it yesterday. If you haven't seen the film and you don't want to spoil it, I would suggest not watching this video, because I'm going to probably throw quite a bit of detail and spoilers in my assessment. The film is really great. First off, I think it's an 8, maybe a 9 out of 10. It's probably one of the best of the modern day Godzilla films. It's a metaphor for the 2011 Fukushima national disaster, the nuclear reactor. You had a tsunami and an earthquake, followed by the nuclear power plant disaster in Fukushima back in 2011. And I think the film really is looking at the Godzilla in this film is a synopsis of all those three events. First, he's an amphibious monster that creates this tsunami. Then he morphs into an animal that creates an earthquake, and then, of course, the final version of the monster is the Godzilla with really a kind of a nuclear reactor kind of body chemistry. He's got his whole body is kind of a nuclear reactor, and anything you do to try to shoot missiles at him and things, he just consumes it. So the film, unfortunately, from the negative standpoint, it's a little heavy-handed with the politics. I think it tried really hard to make a statement about how the government handled that 2011 disaster, and it's kind of heavy-handed, more than just a little heavy-handed. I think there's a lot of attempts to show the government is very inept and slightly more caring about process and their own position within the government than they are about actually addressing the disaster, to the extent that they even have a group of what I call misfits or outcasts within the government, these brainiac geniuses that just don't fit into the government bureaucracy. They form a team that actually comes up with the ultimate solution, which is to freeze, through some kind of a blood coagulant, freeze Godzilla. So at the end of the film, there's a race against time as the governments, NATO and Japan, come up with these typical military solutions which don't work, and the race is to avoid use of nuclear weapons against Godzilla versus this creative genius team's solution of freezing him through a blood coagulant, which they ultimately do, and save Japan from a third nuclear bombing. The film was the 29th Toho production of the franchise, and there's 31 Godzilla films in the franchise. Toho's done 29. This is the 29th. I liked it a whole lot, and I think the Godzilla in this looks great. The amphibian Godzilla has these googly eyes. It's really kind of silly and ridiculous looking, but I think it still works. I think the motion capture effects that they use to great effect, just similar to Peter Jackson's King Kong movie. The motion capture really takes the man in a suit concept and takes it all to a whole new level. I mean, it just looks and feels great. There's also these expansive scenes of the city with Godzilla stomping around in the city that's just puts a whole new dimension to what you've seen in the past with Godzilla films. And I think this Godzilla, unlike the 2014 version, he doesn't play. Yeah, not the 2014 version. He was a mean Godzilla too, but this one takes it to a whole new level, in my opinion. He's got the head looks so similar to this 2014 version, but he's got these really gnarly teeth in this one. I thought the nuclear reactor glow of Godzilla I thought worked. I don't know if it's something that you could replicate. I hope this reboot. This is the third reboot. I hope this does start another reboot of the films. It apparently is doing well financially. Like there's up to now like $75 million it's made in U.S. dollars. I hope it reboots the franchise, but I don't know that this Godzilla incarnation is going to be something that you can continue to go with. I think it's kind of a one-shot deal. I'm not sure it would be something I'd want to see in future Godzilla films. The guy that did the special effects, Higuchi, I don't know these Japanese names. It's the same guy that did the special effects for the Gamera films and Legion, which is really good. He now is in a director role in this film, and I thought it was a dual director role, and I thought he did a very good job. So all aside, I mean, even with I guess the only other criticism I might have is that I would wish Godzilla had a protagonist. This is very much like 1985 Godzilla or the 2014. We're mainly focused on 1985. I think this one, you've got Godzilla, and that's pretty much it. And it works, but it would have been nice to see him battle something other than the military. Now, I will say the military response was excellent as well. They weren't playing it either, and I don't think the movie made fun of the military response. The military response kind of was in 3 or 4 stages. You've had helicopter missile attacks, and these don't miss, man. They hit him hard, hit him head on. You've got tanks that shoot at his legs. You've got submarine to surface missiles, and then, of course, the fourth response, which didn't happen, was the nuclear weapon. But the military don't play either, and they laid everything they could into him. But unfortunately, it was just like shooting into a nuclear reactor. I mean, he was just sucking it up, and then he would extract it. Basically, radioactive material. He would just let it loose. This radioactive material, very much like I think what you saw with the nuclear reactor disaster in 2011. So he was just one big walking nuclear fission, nuclear material. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen it, you need to go see it. It's a really great movie, and as soon as the Blu-ray comes out, I'm going to be all up on it. So I hope you enjoyed this review, and then I'll be back for the rest of the horror films I watched on day 14. Yeah, 14.